Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Dark Season 1, Episode 6. It's called Sic Mundus Creatus Est. I probably butchered that. Not
Yeah, I feel like it's Creatus.
Creatus, sure. Latin's not my
Yeah, no idea what it translates to.
my forte. But I actually would be better just pronouncing it in German, probably, if they give me a German title. Uh, German phonetically is a bit easier to tackle, but
Yeah, I can't argue with that. German, it's a horrible language to me, but at least I can read it.
what's horrible about it?
Don't know, I just thought
Do
it
you, do you
sounds
have any
quite.
idea how many German people who speak English are probably watching this and you just insulted their language?
I know. I think it's quite a harsh sounding language. It's lots of hard sounds.
Yeah, it's a proper language. It's not fluffy like French. French is a
Yeah,
stupid
no,
language.
that's what I mean. It's like I like they're both stupid in different ways to me. So this is how language works. I don't like any of them, even English.
Okay, fine. If you think all languages are bad, then fine. I guess it's not that bad, but still.
My brain just doesn't work well with languages. It's like it's just stop.
Alright, anyway, so at the risk of him offending everyone who possibly is
Hey, but I
watching
offended us too. So
listening to this. Yeah. so, yeah, so full spoilers for the episode. That's episode 6, and it's funny, actually, a lot of the things we brought up last time were kind of addressed a lot more directly in this one. Namely, this whole rape accusation that was brought up by Hannah in 1986 was that, did that actually happen originally? And it turns out it did. It was actually something that was a big thing in their past. In fact, this is probably the first episode where, I mean, they've mentioned Mads going missing in the past, sure, but this is the first time where it really felt like they were starting to look into what happened in 1986 in present day. You had Ulrich
yeah, where they were
actually,
kind of finally connecting it.
yeah, it was actually looking through things, looking through the case files and talking about Mads going missing, and he listens to the tape of like his mother's like statement, and it mentions that his father was there the night that he went missing, and he's like, no, I remember that night. He was not there. That was bullshit. And
Yeah,
he goes to confront him about it, and even suspects that he was responsible, and he's like, where were you when Mikkel went missing? Like, did you do this to my son as well?
yeah,
And
and of course it's already suspicious because we saw him at the end of I think it was
yeah,
the first, or maybe it was in the second episode where he'd been out that night
and the funny
and he
thing
was hiding it.
is like his mother, Ulrich's mother, comes out and says, no, he was here. Of course he was here. And like, well, we just established you lied about that, the exact same lie in 1986. Why would we believe you now?
Well,
And we know
to be
she's
fair,
lying.
well, I mean, she thinks he was there for most of the night. Because that was the night where he was doing the gardening, is what he told her, and he went out to buy the wire, but that was it.
Does she really believe that though? Like that's
don't
what
know.
he says to justify that the car wasn't there. He
Yeah,
wasn't. He wasn't in bed for a long time.
no, that's true.
Yeah, and then he justifies the car not being there by saying he had to go to the store. But
Yeah.
I think he was out for a lot longer than that.
Oh, he definitely was.
Yeah.
But it's whether or not she believes that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I don't think she does. I think she's just lying the same way that she did before. But of course, what is dramatically very interesting about this though is that when he goes to her and she like reveals why she lied back then, where was he that night? He's hit with this weird harsh truth that his father was having an affair and cheated on his mother, which is exactly what he's doing. Because she even says a line where she's like, "Oh, like, my son went missing and he was off with another woman at that time,"
Yeah.
and this obviously has to hit Ulrich hard because that's kind of what he's been doing recently. This is the
Yeah.
exact guilt he's feeling. So it looks like he's been hit by the truck when he hears this. He never says
Yeah.
anything to her about it, but that's how he looks. So dramatically, that's starting to work really well. The way that he's kind of repeating his own father's mistakes.
Yeah, this cycle is really showing itself.
That said, his father is involved in some stuff because we see him later on with Peter. They're both out at this shack with the basement level,
Yeah.
and notably they've got a book of times because they're like, oh, it's 19 minutes until whatever the time is. I think it's like
2119? Something like that.
right, well, whatever. But what I thought was curious though was that it was in a list, and there was only two more after this one. I mean, there could be more pages of them, admittedly, but there was only two more after the time that they were counting down to.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, are all of these times when someone went through? Because
Yeah, exactly.
obviously this one coincides with someone going through. We'll talk about that in a minute. But like and obviously the fact that the lights start to flicker and stuff, that seems to be also something that also happens.
I will say the list seemed longer than just two, but there was only a few highlighted. But there was a longer list. I'm wondering if the list is all the crossings, but the highlighted ones are these are the permanent changes. These are the ones that will always happen. Like they have to happen, sort of thing.
I actually wonder if as is going back to sort of the argument, is it a cycle where it's just in a circle and everything always has to happen this way or whatnot? Mm-hmm. But I almost wonder if it's more like it's not a circle at first, right? It's just a line, and then something happens and it makes a small circle, and then more stuff happens and it keeps the circle keeps kind of getting bigger, and more things circular have to keep happening. And I was just thinking about this because I was wondering if what if there's so many times in this book where people have crossed over and how many times things have changed. I wonder, was there a time when this was not this full, when it was just no, it was
do they add to the book when they learn something new?
Yeah, was there a time when this was just a small amount? And that's to say, we don't even know who this book comes from.
It looks like an old book, but that could be that could mean it comes from the future and it's been around a while from now. It's been brought back, like we saw with the letter, or alternatively, it could be just this book has existed for so long.
No, but it was really fascinating stuff, and Ulrich really starts investigating stuff, and he goes and confronts Regina, and obviously we see some stuff with her. We actually did see her checking her breast in one of the previous episodes, but she gets to the letter back saying that she actually has, she has to go see a doctor. She has cancer.
This was one of those really nice bits where even in German with the letter, you know exactly what it was saying.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
It's like you kind of just see enough to go, I know what this is.
Oh yeah, because the word mammary was mostly the same.
Yeah, exactly. You see that, and then you see the reaction, and you go, "Oh, I get it." Yeah. That's all you need, even in a different language.
Yeah, and plus the context of her seeing her check her breast before, I think just add we're okay, right? I get exactly what this is. But he goes and confronts her, and in fact, we even get that weird flashback actually at the start, where young Regina as a kid is tied to a tree, and she's shouting for Ulrich and Katharina. They've tied her out there. We actually find out later on why they did that. Yeah. The context for that is because Ulrich thought that she's the one, because this is when it comes up in present day, and I went, oh shit, this did happen. But he always thought it was Regina.
I wonder why. Why did he assume her?
I think we may get more on that, but
I think we might do, yeah, because I we haven't really seen enough of them in that time period to realize there's this, this rivalry, for him to think this.
Yeah. I don't know. We do know why actually.
You do?
Yeah, because Hannah said it was her. Hannah said she saw her looking.
Oh, of course,
They bring that up in the dialogue.
Of course, yeah.
So it's that simple, but because she even brings up, oh, that would even happen. I wished it was you that went missing. Mads only came back for me because he knew that I was scared of you two. That's why he was
walking through the forest with me.
But no, that was actually really eerie when she was just tied out there in front of the cave. It was oh shit, it's something.
And it always feels okay. Is something going to come out of is someone going to come out of the cave?
Yeah, you're kind of waiting for it all the time. But he confronts her. He's oh, you did this. You hated us so much that you turned us in, and you said that I raped her. And she's and she just laughs. She's well, you thought that was me?
Yeah, that's what this has all been about.
Yeah, all this time you thought that was me. And he's well, then who's and she's well, what you mean, Hannah, who was obsessed with you from an early age? You don't think she had something to do with this? She'd have done anything to stop you two from being together? And of course, now he's a police officer, he literally just goes into the record room, which again, they'd set up because he just did that for the Mads case. He went in and looked for that. So he goes in, he pulls out files, he finds it, and it's witness name, Hannah, whatever her last name is.
I mean, I get he kind of just put this behind him at some point in his life. That's why he's never looked at it to confirm it. He's just always believed. It's okay, yeah, it's her.
I never for a second questioned why he never looked before. Why would he?
Exactly.
There was no reason to. But I do like the idea that he has access to do this.
I think, that's what I was referring to. I was saying, why did he believe it was Regina? Not so much just because, Hannah told him, but why? What was it that they had against each other that he believed that so easily? That he didn't ever question it?
If there's no more to it, I would say it's because she was kind of the weirdo. Because we kind of get that from her mother when she was driving her, that she's kind of this weirdo outsider who doesn't really have friends. So I think it's just a case of, the weirdo kid who you probably think is creepy.
Okay, that works.
That's assuming we get no more. Maybe they'll give us some more context. But I think if there's not, I think there's enough there to just kind of
Yeah.
accept that. But yeah, so he finds this out, and he actually goes by Hannah's, which, by the way, she already got a phone call from Katharina, because she's looking at the phone records. Like, by the way, if you're having an affair, don't leave your phone records lying around like that.
Yeah.
Seems like a silly thing to do. But then again, I suppose it's suspicious if you're hiding them. I suppose, like, oh, why are you hiding your phone records from me?
That is pretty suspicious. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's just like an awkward. She hears a woman answer the phone, and it's just this kind of awkward silence moment. But you could debate whether or not she recognizes the voice. I don't think it was clear from the scene. I'm not actually.
Okay.
And I actually wouldn't say I'm not on a side. I don't necessarily think she definitely did or didn't. I'm saying I don't think I know based on the scene. I could see it going either way.
Okay. I mean, I assumed she did, but it doesn't really mean anything. I mean, that was just an assumption. Thinking back, and I don't think there is anything to necessarily indicate either way.
Yeah, she just says hello, and then Ulrich. She says those two words. And you don't sound the exact same over a phone. There's a little bit of distortion.
Yeah.
So
I mean, my assumption is because she rings the number that she doesn't recognize, right?
yeah.
But she's already suspecting Hannah, like.
No.
So she's going. If you're expecting someone's voice, you can recognize it a lot easier.
If she already has the expectation it's her, if we were right about her being suspicious of this being a thing with her specifically, then yeah, she'll just kind of like put them together in her head, like it'll just connect.
Yeah.
But I don't think the scene on its own actually gives you an indication of, but she knows it's Hannah.
She doesn't play it like that, no. But I think that's why I'm assuming she was already aware that it could be her, so that's what it was about.
So Ulrich goes over and he's just like yelling at her, "What do you want from me?" He grabs her by the neck, he puts her up against the wall, "You try to ruin my family, this, that." And he makes like this dig that is like super funny in context of this show, where he's like, "Yeah, like you're a broken, crazy person," or whatever he says. No wonder your husband had to get away or something like that. And she slaps him, and I thought, that's really weird, given that that's his son.
Yeah,
it's really weird. And actually, obviously, we've had some jokes before already about her dating his son.
Yeah,
but
it's funny because this is kind of technically her father-in-law.
You're right, it is technically her father-in-law. But just from a more dramatic point of view, though, or from a character point of view, I actually think it adds a little weird kind of weight to it, in a sense that it makes sense she was attracted to him, and as in Mikkel.
Yeah, because there's that family resemblance.
Yeah,
I think I mentioned that last episode, and the idea of that's why it was she settled for the one that looked like him. I think he was always kind of a stand-in for Europe.
To an extent, but I wonder actually how much of a stand-in or how much of a settling it was, because from the sounds of it, it doesn't necessarily sound like while she was with Michael/Mikkel that she was longing for. Like, I
don't think she ever realized. I think that's what she was subconsciously was like. That's why she went for it, but I don't think she necessarily.
Yeah, oh, sure, but I don't necessarily think she ever. I mean, they might prove me wrong and show me stuff that says otherwise, but at least right now, I'm not getting the feeling like she was unhappy or she was still longing for Ulrich. I actually think, in a weird sense, the void was filled. She didn't understand why it was filled, but it was filled. And
no, I agree.
Yeah.
He was a stand-in, and she settled was probably a poor choice of words.
You're right. Because I don't think it's because it's not stand-in from her point of view. Because she doesn't realise it's standing in. Like, we're looking at it from the outside and saying logically that's filling in that slot. But I think from her perspective, she was just happily married to this man.
Yeah, I think subconsciously on her part, definitely. But I don't think she was aware of it in any way that he looks like him.
But I think I like the idea that there was never like an affair until after he was gone, that she then reverted back to Ulrich, not realising, of course, that she's kind of just going back to the same family tree. She's going back to the same,
Yeah.
She's going back to 1.0 as opposed to like 2.0.
I'd say the father and son, they must look relatively similar.
Yeah, so no, I thought that was just interesting things that were going through my head as this fight was playing out. But obviously she's left there kind of broken by the conversation. So he's looking into that. Of course, Katharina's trying to talk to the kids throughout the episode. Martha specifically has a bit of a confrontation with her. Kind of yells at her for kind of ignoring her and Magnus and all that kind of stuff, and saying how she's like so focused on just because she's saying like, "Oh, where are you going?" And they're like, well, school, like, as if it's a stupid
Yeah, we got this. We
question.
got this play.
Yeah. And so I thought that was cancelled. And she does show up to the play. She makes an effort later on to actually show up. And obviously she reacts badly as well when Martha's like, you know what, he's probably dead. And she slaps her. She's not ready for that.
Lots of slaps in this episode.
There was a lot of slaps in this episode. Runs in the family, because we had Magnus slapping him over the back of the head a lot.
Yeah.
Seemingly this slapping is just an Ulrich family tradition here. But now she goes to the play, and obviously we have the scene with her and Bartos, and Bartos tries to like connect with her, and she's just like, nah. She's like pushing him away, and he feels awkward, and he's like, do you know what really struck me actually about Bartos in this episode? I don't think he looks actually like him per se. I just get the same feel from him, if that makes any sense. Like, he doesn't necessarily look exactly like him, but I think his name's Josh Hutcherson from Hunger Games.
Okay, I know who you're on about.
I'm getting like his vibes, and when I say his vibes, I kind of mean like not that he looks exactly like him, but the same kind of the pretty disposable third part of the love triangle.
Yeah.
Like he's easily the duller character, so I get why.
I'm hoping Bartos gets more interesting once we learn, what happened with Noah.
I think he's going to be in it. I think he's going to end up working for Noah. That's my guess, right?
I think so too. I think this is going to push him towards that even more of you chose him over me. Well, screw you all.
I can see it going that way. But he watches the play. Katharina watches the play. And Martha actually has a breakdown. There was a lot of really thematic things. Like, she was doing this monologue, and there was a lot of thematic things. She talked about being bound together with red rope, and this is as we see Jonas with the red rope in the cave. And she talks about...
We've seen the red rope a few times.
Yeah.
We had the little snippet of it already. Whenever she's been performing, been doing the recitals, it's been like a little belt around her white dress.
And there's a lot of stuff about there's just a lot of thematic things in there about like growing apart and coming back together, and a lot of stuff you could probably, if you wanted to take it line by line and actually say, okay, this means that, like all of it's there.
Yeah, definitely.
But she's doing this as it's intercutting between multiple things, and she has a breakdown. She starts breaking down on stage and crying, and it's kind of a nice moment actually for Katharina, I think, more than anyone else, because the idea that this is a really embarrassing moment, because she's breaking down on stage in front of like all these people, and Katharina goes up and hugs her in front of everyone, not caring that it's embarrassing. Like, she's like, I don't care, I'm just going to help my daughter, it's fine.
Yeah, it's one of those rare moments where everyone in the audience gets it. They all kind of go, okay, no, she's just lost her brother. This is a big moment in her life, why she's so fragile right now.
Yeah, they know who she is, exactly. They're not questioning why this is happening. But they're leaving the school, and Regina's there to pick up Bartos. And and obviously it established earlier on with Ulrich, there's some bad blood here. Tying her to a tree and leaving her out there all night, for example, when she was like 14, 15, might be something that lingers in your head. But she gives Katharina some shit, and she's like, oh, if you just want to leave, then just leave. No one wants you here. She gets really confrontational, and Katharina has just had enough shit. And she turns around and just starts slapping the crap out. Again, there's a slapping.
Yeah, this is a beyond slap. This is just, she's wailing on her.
But again, this is same family line, same family tree that's slapping here.
Yes. Very violent family.
Family of slappers. But so there's a lot of slapping going on, and eventually like Magnus shows up and pulls her off, and actually, that's such a weird thing to have to pull. Like, you have maybe moments in your life where you pull someone out of a fight. You're like, no, you have to hold someone back. It's very rare that you're pulling your mother off someone. I feel like that's a weirder.
It is definitely more uncommon, or I would hope it's more uncommon.
Yeah. And of course, later on, they're like Martha doesn't want to be alone. She goes in and lies next to Magnus and just kind of like, can I stay in here tonight? I feel kind of bad. Like, what's all this stuff with Mother and all the things that's going on there? Like, they're really questioning things. And obviously this was just an innocent brother sister, like, keeping each other company. But I was kind of chuckling to myself, like, there was so much like kind of accidental incest going on in this show. I'm like, where's this going? I mean, you're already into your nephew. I mean, why not? why not go further with it? But we should mention as well, Magnus found a necklace in the forest near the cave.
Yes.
Where Charlotte's daughter, I've forgotten her name, was hiding her money. He found this necklace sort of near there, little sort of bird, and he's Franziska. There you go. And did you find that though on the page?
No,
or?
no, I'm not on the page at all.
Okay,
Actually,
all right, okay.
that was just me racking my brain. Look at that, I got memory.
Sure. So, but now, so you have that as well. So you're setting up all these things. Now, of course, I've left out kind of the most exciting plot line of the episode. And that's Jonas, because of course Jonas got the letter last episode. There's a scene earlier on in this one where he's talking to his mother, and you can feel that he's about to ask the question, because I was like, because he's asking all these questions like, oh, where did you meet Dad? And she's like, oh, I was at the hospital. He had a broken leg. And I'm like, oh, this adds up.
Yeah.
We knew. And he did have a broken leg, although it took me a second to remember that, because it wasn't like a super obvious broken leg, because he did hurt himself in the cave.
But but he's not hobbling around with crutches, was he?
Yeah. It was more of a limp broken leg, which is still realistic. It still happens.
Small fracture.
Yeah, but she's like, oh, okay, this makes sense. All right, okay, this is all adding up. And I'm like, go on, ask her what he looked like. Go on, just say it. Say the question, because that may jog her. You know, if he says, you know, what did he look like when you met him? And then she goes, well, he looked kind of like. Wait a minute, like, you know, I was kind of no,
I was half just kind of go, you know, do you know, like, you know, because he's clearly wondering, does she already know?
Oh yeah, and I don't think she does. It doesn't seem like she does.
No,
but
I think if she did, she would the illusion we were talking about with with him and Ulrich, that illusion would have been shattered if she knew.
Yeah, I think, because obviously it cuts to that school photo once or twice from the 1987 photo, and you see Mikkel in the photo with the kids, and I'm like, because they'd already set it up, I'm like, okay, someone's going to find that photo and be like, wait a minute, something's going on here.
It's only a matter of time.
And I was kind of thinking, you know, Jonas can ask these questions like, hey, like, do you have any photos of Dad when he was younger, about your age?
Yeah, and then he can show it to the others,
and then take that to Ulrich's family and be like, hey, doesn't he look familiar? You know, I think I can see that definitely playing a part, but he doesn't. He sort of backs out, and I get why he backs out, because he's, you know, you wouldn't expect he's going to believe him. You know,
it's absurd.
It's kind of obvious. But he ends up, you know, going upstairs and he finds his map with the new direction saying follow the signal, and he's got his Geiger counter.
I think what was really interesting about the thing on the map is, when he snuck into the room and wrote that, we thought, oh, it'll just be a small note, and he'll go, oh, I didn't see this before. No. It's this big, massive thing where he's like, because Jonas has to know someone was in here and wrote this.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, this is the weird thing, though. He's already gotten the package at this point, and I suppose he still had to sneak in at some point to actually write the thing, because it's not like he knew the person he met on the bench was the person who was sending him this stuff. But yeah, so he snuck in. He wrote follow the signal, meaning the Geiger counter, obviously, and. So sure enough, we have like sort of intercut throughout the episode. There's a lot of Jonas going into the cave, following the map. He eventually gets to this narrower sort of crevice, and he goes in. And he eventually gets to this door, this metal door. It's got the sort of the I don't know what you call it, but it's kind of it's an infinity symbol, but it's not the infinity symbol. It's the sort of 3-pointed infinity symbol. You know what I mean by that, right?
Yeah.
We've seen it before in the show. And he opens this. It feels like a safe door. It's a big metal sort of heavy safe door.
It is, yeah. It's very square in that sense.
Yeah. And he goes into it, and it's a very narrow sort of, almost think like in a movie when you have someone crawling through an air duct, but except it's just rock. It's like it's narrow. It's very long, so you can.
But it's notable that it's definitely like man carved. This rock tunnel. It's not. It doesn't look natural form like the rest of the caves. This looks. It's too straight. It's too specific.
It looks cut. I'm not necessarily going to jump to saying man-made. It very well possibly is. It could also be alien-made. I'll throw that out there right now.
Okay. Well, it was created rather than it's just a natural forming.
That said, I can still see it maybe being natural in kind of a. Well, maybe that's not still natural, but kind of how like the idea that this is like a natural phenomena kind of thing.
And they built around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can buy that. Like they carved the passages themselves. Because they somehow discovered this.
Yeah. Or even the passages themselves. Like, I'm trying to think of like like some things in like say Twin Peaks were very specific and they weren't man-made per se, but they had meaning behind like other forces that maybe had a hand in them kind of thing. Like, I'm just like I agree they're probably man-made, but I don't necessarily. I mean, I agree that's a possibility, but I don't necessarily think at the same time there was definitely someone who was cutting this because.
Okay.
whatever. But maybe it was. Maybe it was that they found the energy or the source or whatever, and then they cut in that sense.
Yeah.
But no, I loved how this looked, by the way, because this was just the right amount of surreal. Like it was
yeah.
It was because once you went in the door, I'm like, okay, so how are they going to show this crossing? Like, is it going to feel kind of goofy? Is it going to feel weird? And I feel like this just long, dark, like very perfectly, cut, rectangular tunnel where you could sort of just see as far as his light would go, but it was still going, and it was almost looked infinite, until he kept moving.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just the right amount of this. Feels like it feels a lot like something in Lost, actually. I remember, for anyone who watched Lost, I'll say the hatch and the way that went down quite a way. It kind of reminded me of something like that, where it's like, okay, this feels like too specific to be goofy. Like they've put thought into this, and it feels kind of somewhat natural, but also and somewhat mysterious, but also kind of simple enough that it feels like it has weight to it. But what gets really interesting though is he's going along, and he eventually gets to a fork. And I immediately went, oh, this is in, because he picks right, he goes right, and I was convinced that he wasn't going to
future.
Well, either future or at least another time. I did not think that he was going to 86. I was surprised. I was really surprised when he ended up in 86 because I thought he was going to pick the wrong one and he was going to end up somewhere else or somewhere else.
I was really looking at going. I was thinking, okay, so there's two forks. One goes to the past, one goes to the future by 33 years either way. So if you want to get back 2 lots, you have to go back into 86, then back in again to go back another 33, and all.
Well, I wasn't getting that complicated with my thoughts. I think that the obvious thought, the first thought you have, is that one's past, one's future, right? I think that's the first obvious thing to think.
Yeah.
But even if it's not that, I definitely thought whatever it was, he was going to end up in the wrong time. I say wrong. Wrong from the perspective is we know that he wants to find Mikkel, so it'd be wrong in that sense.
Yeah, I think the one that really interests me as well. When he gets out and there's nothing to indicate when he is.
Oh sure, yeah.
I was convinced that was all we were going to get out of this episode from him.
Oh really?
I thought, all right, that's it for that there.
Yeah, I really thought he was going to be in a different time, either in the future or further back, somewhere else. Like. Like he'd come out and it'd be like the 50s or the 40s or something.
It'd be the 53, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, if we're going with the 33, yeah, sure, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Or maybe even further, maybe it'd be the 20s. That'd be really insane. But of course, he finds that bus stop that we saw before, and the car pulls up, and it's Hannah. It's little Hannah, and like our dad's like, "Hey, do you want a lift? It's like raining really heavy." And that was a nice touch where they're like, "Oh yeah, you shouldn't be out in the rain because Chernobyl, like it could be acidic." Like they're saying it's safe, but I don't believe them. Like I thought that was a nice touch just from like a paranoia perspective at the time period.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that's amusing to him as well. It's like it's rain, it's fine. We know it's fine now. We got past that.
But I liked it because you imagine he's probably seen pictures of his mother before, like at some point.
Yeah, of course. But I mean,
yeah, but it's not until the dad calls her Hannah. Where he's like, Hannah? Wait a minute. Yeah. Wait just a goddamn minute. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So we end the episode with him in 1986, knowingly, it's seemingly with the knowledge to get back. Like he knows
where to go, yeah.
Assuming it's just as simple, like, and it's not like a sort of like, oh, it changes on you, like every time you go in.
And assuming assuming he remembers which path to go down, because it's all very, similar to you get that fork. They look the same.
That's a good point, yeah.
Does he go back down the one? My idea was, okay, one goes past, one goes future, and it's always set to that thing. If he goes down the one that he did again, if he makes the same choice, so he goes, I came down that one, so he'll go back that one.
That's you assuming that structurally it stays in the same place. What if when you go back down it from this side, it actually just appears like it did before? Because it wasn't like a perfect. They weren't equal angles, right? It was like straight line, true. And then it was like two 30-degree kind of angles, right?
Yeah.
What if no matter which time you're in, when you go down it, you always end up from that perspective where it's the two 30-degree angles?
Yeah, I like that.
Because it's like timey-wimey, so it's not like, from a physics perspective, it doesn't make much sense, but what if that's just how it always works?
Well, yeah, but the physics can't make any sense, because you go in the tunnel and you come out at the same point in space, not in time, but in space, you come out at the same point.
That said, though, if he does come back down that same one, Like, it should be obvious because the angle, like I say, was completely different. So it should be obvious which one's the other time period and which one's back to.
Yeah.
But that's assuming it. Like I say, that's why I think it might actually alter and look different when you come in. It'll feel like
I can see him go when he's. I think because he got here so easily, I think the problem will be getting back to his own time.
Possibly. I think maybe the conundrum that he's going to face now that he's in 86 is I think he's going to find Mikkel, and then he's going to have to ponder the idea that, wait a minute, if I take him back to his family,
I don't exist.
Yeah, then all of a sudden I'm wiped from reality.
Yeah.
And then maybe morally he says that's still right. Maybe he says that's the way it should be. I shouldn't exist.
Maybe.
I don't know. But
or maybe he just convinces Mikkel, it's like, this is why you've got to stay. Tell him that he's got to write this letter.
That said, because see for a second when I thought he was going further back in time, I thought, oh, who's he going to turn out to be? Like, he's going to turn out to be one of the adults in 86, maybe.
Yeah. Could be. I'm wondering, is this why, as Michael, he kills himself? Because... he speaks to Jonas. He's like, "Oh no, okay, this is what happened. You become my father, but you die at this point. You do this. You leave this letter." So that's why he does it, because he thinks he has to complete that.
Nah, maybe more complicated. Why does he necessarily have to die, though? We had this debate the first time you said this. Why does he have to die in present day for Mikkel to go back in time?
He doesn't, but just because he believes that that's what happened. Maybe he doesn't believe that he can change things. Maybe he's not aware that he can change things, so he just thinks this is the way things are. So it becomes self-fulfilling.
I think it's more than that.
Okay. I mean, there was a mention here that it sounded like he was sick before he died.
Yeah, they did mention that.
And I'm wondering, is that something to do with the radiation, perhaps?
Yeah, it could be a side effect of, going through what he's went through. I wonder, actually, if it ends up being something to do with Jonas. Like, if Jonas ends up, like, either being stuck in the past or, like kind of like how I feel like the whole idea that he has to kill himself for things to happen, I feel like there has to be more to it than just... Because Mikkel is going to go back in time either way. That's going to work.
Yeah,
no matter what.
Absolutely.
So it could be something more than that. Maybe he knows something from the future. Because, like we said, we've seen that letter come. It looks like it's been from the future because it's all tatty and old. Yeah. So I don't know if he knows something about the future. Like if he doesn't... Because maybe it's not so much that. Maybe it's that he has to die so that Jonas will go looking into the cave. So he'll go back in time because he has to go back in time as well to do something.
Yeah, no, I can see it.
Because Jonas finds that map because his dad killed himself. What if that needs to happen so Jonas has to go back in time to either arrange something else, set something else up, fix something else, whatever.
Yeah, he never gets this letter, which, is a big part of what he's doing things now is to do with that.
Yeah. Or maybe he actually wants to break the loop. Maybe he wants Jonas to go back and save him, essentially asking him to kill himself. But he thinks it's for the better.
Yeah, could be.
Because maybe he's hated his life. Maybe he hates the fact that he had to do this and then see his family kind of be formed and see himself be born, from a distance. Yeah. But maybe he hates all that. Maybe he wants to fix it and end the loop.
Yeah, could do.
So I think a lot of what Jonas' stuff is, being a bit older and being from the future, does he befriend Mikkel? Does he tell Mikkel that he knows that he's from the future and he's there to help him?
Well, I mean, Mikkel will know him.
True, yeah. That's a good point.
He'll see Jonas. How are you
of course
here?
He does, yeah. Does he tell? Do we get that weird Terminator thing where he's like to tell? I mean, obviously it doesn't happen in Terminator, but it would happen if Kyle Reese stuck around. Where he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm your son.
Yeah.
Oh, does Jonas have sex with someone in the past, and that creates someone? That's gonna get really confusing if they.
Let's not. No. Let's not overcomplicate things.
I'm convinced that Jonas is going to turn out to be someone else who's older, or affect the timeline in some way.
Someone else is his kid or something like that.
Yeah. Which is going to be a weird self-implosion thing.
Noah.
Oh, you think Noah? Now, I was thinking it was going to be someone like Hannah was going to turn out to be his daughter or something.
No, stop.
Just so it was an infinite loop of shenanigans.
Yeah, no. They're self-creating. At that point, he creates his own existence. No, I don't like that.
I don't think that'll happen. But I do think the the moral debate of altering the past, and especially possibly erasing himself, is kind of going to be a lot of what his plot is now. I have to tell you though, from a pure science fiction perspective, if a pure I like this mystery, I think him getting that fork and being like, oh, that like, I feel like my mystery sort of senses are really tingling now. Like I'm really into this.
Yeah, definitely. I like the image. You mentioned it's a triangular shape, this fork with the three, and you mentioned that infinity triangle symbol, and it reminds me of, like, the nuclear, the radioactive symbol, the
they're
black
very
and
similar.
yellow.
Yeah, they're very similar shapes actually when you think about it.
Yeah, and it kind of just, obviously the link is just in my head.
And the thing with that symbol with the 3 points though is that they all feed into each other, that they all kind of loop in on themselves. So I think that thematically as well fits.
Yeah, it's a lot of crossover, isn't it?
So yeah, other key points I guess just briefly to mention is, okay, so one, in that room, the basement room, why are they there specifically waiting for this time to pass? What happens in that room based on people passing through? Curious question. We don't have to talk about it right now, we can discuss that when we've got more information, but I think it's a point to bring up. Two, Charlotte is determined to find these kids, find out what's going on. She's telling everyone to work double shifts, she's out looking for stuff. But very, very interesting. So Tront, Ulrich's father, working with Peter.
Yep.
Whole thing. It's cool.
There's one big moment we haven't touched on yet.
Oh, go on.
Ulrich's final moment. He goes to the morgue and sees the body.
No, of course. Do you know what's funny about this? Is that I think at the same time, as soon as we had that body at the end of episode 1, we said exactly who it was. And then we kind of wrote it off because Ulrich didn't suspect anything. Ulrich didn't recognise him.
Do you know what it is? It dawned on me. It's the superhero thing. Cover the eyes.
Well, that's the thing. See, when we see the body in the morgue at the end of this episode, I think they actually convinced me more that it's harder to tell who it is, because the burn was actually bigger than I thought it was, and you could really only see the thing. And of course, quite neatly in this episode, his mother told him a story about him getting a cut in the chin. So he actually, he holds up the photo and he looks at him, but then the chin thing comes into play, and he's like, okay, it's him.
Yeah.
Somehow this is my brother, the same age as he was when he was kidnapped, popping up now. Which would be fine if he was decomposed, but he's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if he was just a skeleton, then that makes sense, because he was killed at that age.
Oh, we finally found the body.
Yeah, but no, he's the same age, but he's recently dead.
Yeah, exactly. It's far more interesting.
So this is another character who's at least, after this discovery, if Jonas did go to him and say, hey, by the way, your son's actually my father who went back in time, and now he might actually, maybe not buy it immediately, but he wouldn't just
consider it,
call him crazy and throw him out the room immediately. You know?
Definitely.
So I think that's an interesting thing. I suppose, do I want to critique the show for me guessing who that was the second it happened? I don't know. I feel like it works anyway.
I don't think there was any other suspect there, was there? It was either that or it was a mystery that we didn't get yet. So
yeah, I think it's kind of funny because on the one hand it's like we did immediately just guess that's who it probably is, and we only kind of doubted it because none of the characters were reacting to it, because we thought it would be more obvious and that Ulrich would just immediately go, wait a minute, that's my brother.
I think actually, just to tie this into why he didn't recognize Mikkel, go, hey, he looked like a kid I went to school with. Is the idea of you kind of forget what I mean. Think you don't have any siblings, so this is maybe a bit different for you. But one of my brothers is only like 2 years younger than me, and if I think back to what he looked like as a kid, it's kind of hazy.
Yeah, when I think back to what my brothers and sisters look like as a kid, I just see a nice glorious empty space. And I love it. I
think you remember yourself a bit better, just because obviously you always saw pictures of yourself from your parent, whatever. You have that image of yourself in your head anyway. But I mean, think of one of your friends who you knew as a child, and then still know now. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a hazier image. It's not that clear an image because your memory is kind of distorted over time.
Yeah, it's hard not to think about what they look like now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually really hard to think about what they're like as a kid. I've never really thought about it, but now that we're actually trying to process this, it's actually a bit more difficult
to defend that. And in this case, obviously, he never knew what Mads would have looked like as an adult to colour that. But at the same time, he won't have really seen him in years. So again, that memory will fade.
Yeah, it makes sense that he's using the photograph as he's looking at him.
Yeah, because you can't trust your memory after that long.
No, you can't. Well, unless it's a negative thing, like I feel like I could go 30 years without seeing you, but the image of your face will be burned into my retinas.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
You never forget true evil.
No, you don't. You will all remember it now.
Yeah. So no, like I feel like a lot of the mysteries are really starting. There's still a lot of mystery, right? But I feel like a lot of them are starting to like get to this.
They're kind of different mysteries to where we started, though.
They're getting potent now, so we know two people are working together. What's in that room? Why are they there specifically at that time? Are they expecting another body to come through? Which we know it shouldn't be the case because we see Jonas go through, so we think it's him that's causing the flickering and the effects. Yeah. So, no, it's interesting.
Yeah. Just a couple of other things. I was just thinking more about the Hannah and Ulrich and Michael thing.
Sure.
You mentioned how it was after Michael died that she went to Ulrich to kind of fill that gap. She never cheated on him while he was alive.
Possibly, we don't know that for sure, but yeah.
Right, and we were saying, and we were kind of going, oh, maybe he was kind of like a stand-in almost. He was there instead of Ulrich. What if it was more just she really did love Michael that much, and it was the lot of him, and she's kind of gone, you look similar, and she's kind of latching back onto him because of that. Like it's the grief that's kind of pushed her back in that direction.
Yeah, it could be. What's really funny to think about it though is that Jonas is Ulrich's grandson.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of funny that on this logic she should be attracted to her son as well.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
That's awkward.
I feel like every time we talk about this show, there's just another level to the incest potential that we get to.
There definitely is. And the other thing, I actually did translate the title because I was just curious as to what it meant. It says, "Thus the world was created," which I think is fascinating.
First, the world was created.
Thus the world was created.
Oh, thus. Okay, right.
Yeah.
I actually think that's the thing, though. You said that was fascinating, and I actually think first the world was created would also be equally fascinating for different reasons.
For different ways, yeah. But this here, I was like, okay, but which is it referring to? Is it referring to the in this episode specifically, Jonas going back? Is that the world being created? Is that the loop kind of being solidified? Is it referring to the idea of we got the reveal before that that Mikkel was Michael, so thus this world was created. That was what created that, and it's more of this would be a spoiler before that almost.
I wonder if it's just more of a grander mythical kind of idea, right?
Yeah.
So we're seeing a specific example here of how this one family kind of like that's going back in time created it, so there was a loop so that made what it is, right? What if it's kind of suggesting that the world's existence as a whole, right, is circular?
It's always determined on things that will happen in the future. It goes back to, I think it was might have been Charlotte that said, the future affects the past.
Yeah, so you joked about Jonas being a biblical name. Like, what if he ends up actually being Jonas of biblical times?
I said it was a possibility.
And that's obviously very grandiose. I'm not suggesting they're actually go down that route, but just I don't know, the idea that we only have, I mean, I'm not religious, but let's just go with Adam and Eve, right? We only have Adam and Eve, but Adam and Eve are actually from the future.
Okay.
And they only go back to Adam and Eve time to escape the nuclear apocalypse, and thus that starts the world.
They become the first men. Yeah. No, I get you.
Yeah, just in a really broad sense, like what I mean by like that's what the title means. Thus the world was created. Is it?
Yeah.
It's constantly going back in itself. I don't know.
Oh no, I like it though. It's a good title.
Yeah, it'd have been better in English if I could actually if I could have read it.
See though, I can appreciate them doing it in this day and age where everyone in the world can see that title and go, okay, I care enough. I'll type that into Google.
Oh, sure. Well, this is the thing, though, because this is a subtitled show for us in German, I just thought they made a mistake and there was no subtitles for the title, because there had been up until this point.
Yeah, we were discussing this before we started. I saw Creatus and went, I think that might be Latin.
Yeah, I didn't even read it. I just sort of looked down at the bottom for the subtitle, and then there wasn't one. I was like,
really?
I was like, I guess they forgot to put the subtitle in for this one. But that's just unique to this. Whereas if it was an English speaking show, I would never have I'd be like, that's Latin. Okay, I'll go look that up. Whereas in this case, I'm like, well, they just forgot a subtitle. I'm sure it's not important. Turned out it was important, so I'm glad we spoke about it and sussed it out. So so very strong episode. I think.
Definitely.
I'm heavily really into the plot now. Obviously, we're in the back half of the season now. We'll see where it develops from here. So, but I'm excited. So, let us know what you thought of episode 6 in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. You can do that over there. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching. Keep watching TV. We'll see you next time. Have you got any vanilla?